My reflection smiled at me, but I didn't. There's something wrong with my reflection. I just saw it in the bathroom mirror of a 24-hour gas station, and it looked back at me with my eyes, but it wasn't me. It wasn't me at all. I'm sitting in my car now, parked under the buzzing fluorescent lights of the station's awning. I can't stop shaking. My hands feel like they belong to a stranger, all cold knuckles and foreign aches. There's a coppery metallic taste in my mouth, and I think something is living under my skin. I never used to believe in anything. Not God, not the devil, not the things people whisper about in the dark. It was all just stories, psychological static, to explain away the fear of being alone in an empty universe. I loved that emptiness. I craved it. I think the universe isn't empty, and I think I'm not alone anymore. It started last night. I live in my grandfather's old house, a little clapboard place at the end of a long gravel road, swallowed on three sides by a deep, quiet forest. The silence out there was my favorite thing about it. A thick, heavy blanket of peace. Now, it just feels like the world holding its breath. I got home late, maybe around 9. A storm was rolling in, one of those slow, miserable drizzles that turns the woods into a single, breathing shadow. As my truck rumbled up the driveway, the headlights swept across the tree line, and they caught something. At first, I thought it was just a trick of the light on a dead tree. 2 small, pale circles, glowing faintly. Then the shape resolved itself. It was standing on 2 legs. Deer don't do that. I slammed on the brakes, the truck skidding on the wet gravel. It was impossibly tall and thin, like a charcoal sketch of a man stretched all wrong. Its limbs were too long, hanging down so its fingertips brushed the damp earth. The head was tilted at an angle that would have snapped a human neck, but the worst part was its texture. It wasn't solid. It was like a hole cut out of the world, a pocket of absolute black that the rain and light seemed to bend around. I stared, my heart hammering against my ribs, unable to process what I was seeing. And then it moved. It didn't run. It didn't walk. It folded. Like a piece of paper, it just collapsed in on itself and was gone. There was no sound, no ripple in the leaves, just an empty space where it had been. For a long time, I just sat there, engine idling, the wipers squeaking against the glass. I told myself I was exhausted. I told myself it was a hallucination brought on by stress and the distorted view through a rain-slicked windshield. I almost had myself convinced, until I got out of the truck and saw the footprints. They started at the edge of the woods, right where the thing had been standing. They were bare. Long, thin toes pressed deep into the mud and gravel, leading right up to my front porch. But it wasn't just mud. Each print left behind a thin, greasy sheen, like an oil slick, that shimmered faintly in my headlights. They stopped dead at my doormat. There were no tracks leading away. My hand trembled as I put my key in the lock. The air on the porch was cold, unnaturally so. I could feel it seeping into my bones. When I pushed the door open, a wave of heat and light blasted me in the face. Every single light in the house was on. The kitchen light, the hall light, the lamp in the living room, the bare bulb in the attic. All of them burning with a harsh, sterile intensity that made my eyes water. It felt like walking into a surgical theater. It felt violated. I slept on the couch that night, if you can call it sleep. Every creak of the old house was magnified. The wind didn't whistle, it groaned. The floorboards didn't settle, they sighed. And underneath it all was a low, constant vibration I could feel in my teeth, a hum that seemed to be coming from the very foundation of the house. Around 3 in the morning, the hallway light just went out. A soft click, and the house plunged into a darkness so total it felt like a physical weight. I fumbled for my phone, my breath catching in my throat. I got up and checked the switch. It was still in the on position. That's when I heard a new sound. From my bedroom. It was a dry, brittle scratching. A skittering sound, like 1,000 dead leaves being dragged across concrete. But it had a rhythm, a slow, deliberate inhale, and a long, rattling exhale. Something was breathing in my room. My body went cold. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to get out of the house and never look back. But it was my house, my grandfather's house. I grabbed the heaviest thing I could find, an old iron poker from the fireplace, and crept toward the bedroom door. I threw it open, phone flashlight cutting a trembling beam through the darkness. The room was empty, the sound was gone. The silence it left behind was worse. It was a listening silence. This morning, I found the marks on the bedroom wall, right above my pillow. 3 long, jagged lines clawed deep into the plaster. They weren't burned. They looked like they'd been gouged out with a fingernail. And from inside the grooves, a thick black oil was weeping down the wall. It smelled like ozone and rust, the same greasy substance from the footprints. That's when my nose started bleeding. It wasn't a trickle. It was a sudden, warm gush, and it hasn't really stopped since. The blood is dark and thick. It feels cold on my skin. I had to get out. I drove here, to this gas station, just to be around people, to feel the solid, brightly lit reality of the normal world. But I don't feel any safer. I can still feel it, not watching me. It's closer than that. It feels like it's inside me, a cold weight behind my eyes, a deep, resonant ache that has settled into my marrow. When I move my arm, I feel a faint, delayed counter motion under the muscle, like a puppet master pulling the strings a half-second too late. It's wearing me. It's trying me on for size. And then, just a few minutes ago, I went into the bathroom. I splashed my face with water, trying to wipe away the blood that kept leaking from my nose. I looked up into the mirror, and my reflection was slow. I tilted my head, and for a terrifying half-second, my reflection's head stayed perfectly still before lagging to catch up. A nauseating, syrupy delay. I raised my hand to my face, my real hand, and watched my reflection's hand just twitch at its side. We stared at each other, me and the thing wearing my face. Then it did something I didn't. It slowly, deliberately raised its own hand, not to its face, but to its chest, and it tapped twice, right over the heart. Its expression shifted. The fear in its eyes, my eyes, dissolved into a flat, cold, predatory curiosity. Its lips peeled back from my teeth in a smile that was all wrong. It was a conqueror's smile. Then its mouth formed 2 words, with no sound, just for me. Almost home. I don't know what I brought back with me from the edge of those woods. I don't believe in demons, but I don't have another word for it. It followed me. It got inside my house. And now it's getting inside me. The blood is starting again, cold and black. The feeling under my skin is getting stronger. It's settling in. If anyone has seen anything like this, if you know what this is, please, tell me how to get it out. I don't think I'm me anymore.